This is Wretched Radio with Todd Friel.
Well, I'm enjoying myself here. You're the only one, Friel. This is Wretched. Do you think it's easy to have OCD? Huh? Do you? Do you really? This is Wretched Radio. Thank you for humoring me, Todd. That's all we ever do. And nevertheless, some musings via Carl Trueman. He's a church history professor at Westminster, and he's talking about our current culture, which actually isn't a culture, and how we might go about the business of engaging it and even doing church. What is the hallmark of the contemporary evangelical church? Is it not trendiness? Is it not to be hip and cool and relevant? And this is why grown men who are pastors, maybe in the ministry for 20, 30 years, are dressing like they're teenage kids. It's because we want to be like, hey, look at me, I'm one of you. And I got to tell you something. Nobody out in culture dresses the same way that a youth pastor and even these super groovy pastors dress. It's got kind of this, hey, we're kind of a pop star, but, you know, not with all the bling, but the cool shoe, the Vans, and the tennis shoe thing is really popular, even with guys in their 50s, running out on the platform with their jeans and their shirts untucked with their Vans on. Am I venting a bit? Yes, I am. It's all because there's something behind it. Besides the look that is just not my cup of tea, there's something behind it. And that is, we want you to think that the person who's talking to you is contemporary and relevant, so that you think the message that I am delivering to you is contemporary and relevant also. In other words, it reveals a lack of belief in the sufficiency of the power of the Word of God to capture somebody's heart, to convert and regenerate somebody's heart, and to sanctify that heart. It's too much of an emphasis on me because of a lack of belief in the power of the Word of God rightly proclaimed. Funny, we had John Street preaching in our church on Sunday, and there were some people that were there. I looked around. I hadn't seen him before. You can always tell when somebody gets dragged to church, can't you? Now, you can be wrong sometimes, and somebody who's like, oh, you're not a Christian, I can tell by your attire. You can be wrong about that, of course. I haven't ever been, but you could be wrong about that. But there's people where it's like you can tell. Let me tell you, I think John preached for 50 minutes, and the people that I saw there that didn't quite look like they were a part of the church culture, they weren't sitting there doodling and wandering away and looking around, checking their phones. They were like honed in on this guy because he was preaching authoritatively. By the way, he had a suit and a tie on. Sorry, I'm not trying to make this a clothing diatribe, but he dressed like a man of his age. And John's probably 60-something. I don't know, maybe even older than I don't know. It looks pretty good. He's in the 60s. Dressing like a man because he wants you to hear the Word of God that is being proclaimed. I'm not trying to persuade you that I am worthy of following or my message is worthy of following because I'm hip. He believes in the power of the Word of God. And the hallmark of the evangelical church is to reject anything old, make sure that we're contemporary, or at least the 1980s, because isn't that what a lot of our contemporary music is? A hearkening back to the music of our era. That's what a lot of this church music is, man. It sounds an awful lot like 90s worship music to me. Nevertheless, we are trendy. We try to keep up with the culture to show the world that we're worthy of their consideration. Carl Trueman, historical is not enough. There was just a couple of things, just maybe for you to consider in your local church, just maybe, with a world that is adrift. All of our culture is throw away. We were at, I think it was a Kroger grocery store, and one of the magazines, I think it might have been Time Life, whatever it is, it had Clark Gable and what was the name of the woman who was in Gone with the Wind? Did she do anything else after that? The woman who was the star in Gone with the Wind. You can see the house here in Georgia. I've driven by it. It's right there. Yeah, that's right.
Vivien
whatever.
Leigh.
And then that Judy Garland from Wizard of Oz, and there's the Tin Man. It was the golden era of movies. And I said to Mrs. Friel, why is that the golden era? Why do we even today, that was like the 30s, I think, that all those great movies were made. Why was that the gold? Why is everything, okay, that was the gold standard. Everything now is less. Why? What happened? Well, I think for decades we tried to make some sort of art that had a lasting and enduring value to it. Now it's all throwaway. This stuff that is being produced, so much of it, it's just look, it tickles the funny bone today. Tomorrow, has no transcendence. It has nothing lasting to it. Just make me happy now. I'm out of here. Next. Music, same thing. It maybe gives you a visceral response. It gives you some sort of a buzz on the inside. But it's hard to imagine so much of our contemporary music is going to be lasting for long. Now, it'll last for some people, a generation, because they grew up on it, and it's the music of your life. It tells your story. When you're dead, let me tell you something. That stuff is just gone. What lasts? Isn't it the higher, loftier stuff, typically, by the way, orchestrated by believers who are trying to glorify God, that has some sort of immortality and transcendence to it? We're a throwaway culture, and the church is trying to keep up with an in today, out tomorrow society? Carl Trueman, the repudiation of the past is an essential part of the contemporary cultural project. Philip Reif predicted this some years ago, stating that the heart of the coming and now present barbarism would be its conscious eradication of the past. The autonomy of psychological man with his repudiation of an external authority made such inevitable. You get rid of God, you get rid of an authority, we can do whatever we want to. Quote, the essential difference between the culture of the past and the entertainment of today is that the products of the former sought to transcend mere present time, to endure, to stay alive for future generations, while the products of the latter are made to be consumed instantly and disappear like cake or popcorn. And that's what we're trying to mimic in the church. Question: when was the last time in your church you said an ancient creed? Now, some churches do, and I salute you for that. But at mainstream evangelicalism, the Apostles' Creed, maybe on occasion, for some sort of quaint reason, we're going to show how cool we are by doing something dusty and old. See how hip we are, as opposed to this is our connection. It's not through a church. It is through a joined statement of faith. And here it is, one that has endured for centuries, the Nicene Creed. When was the last time a church ever thought about doing the Chalcedonian Creed? Forget the Athanasian Creed, way too long for that. But that's something that's lasting. And we're throwing it away for pop music? Really? What about any traditions? The way that we even build churches, like, it's not a law, but I'm just saying we cast all of these things aside so that we too can become a popcorn-consuming culture. No wonder why people don't go running to the church for their complex issues. We're silly. We're not transcendent. We're trendy and not even very good at it, frankly. Hymns, sorry, but what about some hymns that saints have been singing for a long time? I bumped into a friend. I was at a conference this last weekend, and the church that they're worshiping in is currently where he's pastoring temporarily. It's a community center, but it used to be a church, and they were singing. I can't remember which song that it is well with my soul. Let's just say that. And he thought to himself, wow, how many times has this song been sung in this church? Because it used to be a church. That went back like 120 years ago. How cool is that? How cool for a young person to be singing a hymn, and they look at this dusty old thing called a hymnal, and they go, this was written in 18 what? You mean, I'm not like the first person to be singing some sort of Bethel song? You mean that Oceans is like this fleeting fluff? And I could be singing something that the saints who have gone before me, whoa, that's kind of transcendent. What about preaching? What about, here's one, liturgy. What about that idea? Everything is so fleeting and so quick, and we have joined the chorus. I thought this was a rather fascinating support of that. This is from Mark Hendrickson. Do you know that we are expected to stop growing in population by 2100? That we're not going to grow anymore. And I thought it was fascinating. He said, I think there's 3 reasons for it. He's a bit of a sociologist. Why we want to have fewer children. It's ideological, philosophical, spiritual, and economic. Hey, we can't afford it, so don't have kids. Why? Well, because having kids, it costs money, and I want to do things for me. I don't want to do something for the next generation. I want to do it for me. Philosophical reason, materialism, and lack of spirituality. Materialism breeds preoccupation with self-satisfaction and self-indulgence. I don't want to give some sort of gift to the next generation. I want to do this for me. It's about me. So we're not breeding anymore. So much for the population control concerns. And that is a sign of our times. Let's not join the chorus. Let's continue with the traditions of the church to demonstrate we are not here today and gone tomorrow, but the word of God endures forever. And maybe we could demonstrate that to a world who is flat out desperate. And until tomorrow, go serve your king.
If you'd like more Wretched content, and who wouldn't, visit wretched.org and you will have Wretched coming out of your nose. And that's biblical.